Welcome back to the Parent Podcast. This is episode 3 of College Prep 101, which is really just preparing our kids for life, whether they go to college, stay with you for college and go locally, or maybe they take a gap year, or maybe college is not in their future. I don't think it matters. I think all of these principles are principles that can ground them for life and give them good wisdom, good launching out points for them to be successful in life, no matter what they do. My name is Tysha. I am the student pastor at the Frisco East Campus. Again, joined with my friend, Stephanie Jordan. If you were to see us in person, we often get confused for each other. Yes. So we love that. That's a fun fact about us.
It is.
Just, for the future. So all of these have not been in any particular order, but all of them I think are important.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Stephanie's going to start with the first one today.
Yeah, social media.
Ooh,
social media. This is a big one. No matter what age your student is, I have a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old, and it's never too early to start talking about social media. I mean, if you have a 12-year-old, if you have a 9-year-old, these are things to already begin talking about. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. There are a lot of things that you can learn from social media: autonomy, news, recipes. Fun, keep you in the loop. There are things I personally am not on social media a lot. Tysha is. Yeah. And there are things that Tisha's like, we're going to go do blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how did you even know about that? Social media. I'm like, all right,
sense.
well, I guess I should get out there a little bit more.
But we're keeping you in the loop. It's fine.
Luckily I have friends who are my social media. But social media has a dark side too. And there are, if you just Google, social media consequences or social media study in teenagers, you will find tons and tons of studies about, the pros and cons of social media. But it is very, very much linked to like anxiety, social isolation, a lot of comparison. Students looking at the highlight reel and living their their cut edits, the things that they don't want anybody to see. Yeah. So it's a lot. It's a lot for an adult to process, and a lot of adults maybe don't handle social media very well. Yeah. So if you can only imagine when a brain is still developing, it can be almost impossible for a student to navigate.
Oh, for sure.
So that's where you, with an adult, fully formed brain, come in, helping your student recognize the good side, but also the negative side that comes along with social media is so important. So following up and closely monitoring might be so important depending on your student. I would suggest, yes, it's like it. We want to trust our students, but also there's a big wide world out there. Yeah. And not only are they sending things out, but there are things coming in as well. Yeah. And they can't always control that. And so knowing what is, what's going out and what's coming in is really important. Some people never feel the need for social media, and that's okay too. Yeah. Teaching them that everything that they post, share, comment should be done with care and thought. And that years later, things can come up that have been put out in the social media world where they can hurt their jobs, their friendships, their careers, things that might be embarrassing to them later. Yeah. This goes back to being wise and making wise choices that we talked about that last week. Yeah. So our son does not have Instagram. Yeah. He has other more stringent social media outlets. We didn't allow our daughter to have Instagram until she was a senior. So if you are one of those where you're, we don't want our student to have Instagram, but whatever, they can have whatever social media. I would definitely say once they're out from under you, and they're gonna probably go ahead and get the Instagram. Right. They're gonna get the TikTok. They're gonna get the Snapchat, whatever it is. And so it was not allowed. We paid for our daughter's phone, so it was not allowed until her senior year. And actually, I think it was maybe when she turned 16 or 17, we let her kind of have it. She was already a little bit more established in who she was as a person. It wasn't depending on what she saw, but also that way she could learn to navigate it under our roof with our protection still. Before she was out on her own and having to figure those things out. And by the time she got it, she didn't care as much about it. Yeah. It wasn't as... and it didn't inform her who she was at that point, because she knew she didn't have that in her life in that way. So 5 questions to ask your teenager about social media. How does social media make you feel? What emotions do you experience when you scroll? Ooh. This is a big one.
Yeah. It's good for me to hear that.
Yes. Have you ever felt pressured to present a certain image online? That's a big one.
Yeah.
How do you think social media impacts your friendship? What are some ways that you can manage your screen time or boundaries you set for yourself? Because eventually they're going to be on their own thing.
Yeah.
And you can maybe set screen time on their phone, but someday you're not going to be able to. So allowing them to make those decisions for themselves. What type of activities on social media feel like time well spent?
Yeah.
Doom scrolling is like the term. So figuring that out and managing that.
Yeah.
And does that make them feel good? Or what would make them, let's not spend hours doom scrolling because you don't feel good after.
Yeah. Social media is such a big part of students' lives now, and we just have to make sure that we're teaching about it and that we are giving them tips on how to manage it because it can be very difficult. Another thing is time management. I mean, time management is huge. I'm 41, and I feel like I have a pretty good handle on time management, but I know that my kids, whom I adore, they don't always have the best time management skills. And so things that I've had to teach them: use a calendar. Make sure you're looking at and responding to your emails. The things that now some kids may just naturally have this. I know that Stephanie's daughter is like this, where she has a very responsible nature, and that is who she is. But other kids, and you're going to know who these are in your life and who in your kid lineup, who needs help remembering to check their email and to respond to those things. Keeping commitments. If you said you're going to do something, then that is your commitment to keep. You can't cancel 5 minutes before. That is not the kind of person and the integrity that you want to have with people around you. Not turning things in late. Start in high school. Carry that over to college. Like, you have to be able to turn things in on time. Plan your week out. Take 10 minutes, 30 minutes every Sunday. Look at your week. Know what you're doing, what you need to do so that you have a handle on when things are due. Also, do you have time to play 3 hours of video games today? Mm-hmm. Is that something that's in your schedule or not? Do you have time to doodle for multiple hours throughout the day? Or do you need to be doing something that is that needs to be done? Homework, working, reaching out to a friend. Like, there are so many ways that we can help our kids with time management, but at some point they are going to have to do it on their own. But if we are modeling it, if we're teaching it, I think it's so important to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Serving is the next one. Serving and volunteering is a great reminder that the world is way bigger than our world. That giving back and serving others is what makes society as a whole care for and love each other more. Jesus modeled it. He served others. There are so many benefits to serving in local organizations, food pantries, homeless shelters, animal shelters, churches.
Right.
Tutoring is a big one in colleges. There's so many ways that they can do one thing to serve and to give back. And honestly, I will even say, so the benefits reaped by young people offering their service has a positive impact on them, both immediately and into the future. My daughter likes to go check out a dog from the local shelter and take it for a walk. That's like a service thing, but she does it for her own mental health.
Yeah, so good.
That's good for her own mental health, is to serve. And I mean, there are studies behind that.
Yes.
Oh,
for
serving and helping somebody else
it just brings a lot of quality to your life. Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. If you've been in any parent meeting that we've been in, we've talked about how volunteering can be so helpful. And even in Mark 10:45, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. I think that's so good. All right, the last one that we're going to tackle in this College Prep 101 is just health. Mental health is such a big thing now. Are you... One, if you're having issues with mental health, are you doing what you need to do? Have you seen a doctor? Are you taking medication that you need to take? Now, I'm not just always like, hey, go take medication for that, but are you doing your best to figure it out so that your student is seeing you walk through that, knowing that just because you have to take something or just because you should go to counseling or are going to counseling doesn't mean you're broken. It means that you are just trying to figure your life out and making sure that you are the best version of who you can be. And especially in college, I think this is important because mental health can be such a big thing that we see around us in peers and friends, and we can, one, help them figure out how to walk through that and be a good encouragement and support, but also for ourselves. How do we find a counselor? What does this look like for us? I think it's so important. And then just like through physical health, exercise. Are you eating well? I'm having to remind my kids, you can't eat at fast food 3 times a day. That's not good for your body.
How does that make you feel?
Right.
How does that, like, all of that stuff impacts your mental health as well. The exercise one is a big one. So with us, for sure, but leading up to college, knowing it can be really easy in college to let like those good habits slide, or to kind of you're exploring, you're figuring things out. But noting, saying, okay, let's do an experiment. That's how I have to do it with my kids. Let's just do an experiment, and let's just exercise for 30 minutes every day this week. And at the end of the week, do we feel better at the end of this week than we did last week? And so when the time comes and we are feeling, well, I feel terrible mentally, emotionally, physically, they know like, oh, you know what I should do? If I exercise 30 minutes every day, that's going to change. I will feel better. That's a big part of it.
I think, emotional health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, all these are ways. And I think that there are markers along the way for you to be able to determine and help your kid determine in their own life where they are in all of these spots. But I think it's good to recognize and be able to help them recognize these things in their own life. So, all right. Well, no matter how well you teach your kids things or how well you feel like you're teaching all of these things, there is going to be a learning curve. Like that's just what parenting is all about. And I think the important thing is that you have taught them, that you're modeling these principles, that you're there for them, that you love them. Yes. Start now. No
because
matter
once
what
they go
age.
to college, you don't want to be telling them all these things once they're there.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be like, well, you should do this. You should do this. Start it now. And so that when they get there, they already know. Like they're ready to go.
It's never too early to start. Even if your kid's in elementary, it's never too late. And it's never too late to start. I love that. So, all right, guys, we love you. We hope that the last 3 weeks have added some value to your life. Remember, you can do this. You're not alone. God is with you, and so are we. Have a great week.